Here we go. Um, it's never easy to know when this starts on here. So apologies if I'm just cutting in. But
Here we go.
here we go. Yeah, all done. But basically, we're doing. So I've all the slick back hair. I've just tried to complete my 10,000 steps in the rain. But Malcolm and I are doing another film review this evening. For those of you who are new to us, Malcolm Mann and I do film reviews about roughly once a month, a little bit more, a little bit less, on this YouTube page under Paul Bergin, and also on my blog, which is Mars Hill. If you type in Paul Bergin Mars Hill on Google, I'm sure it would be very easy for you to find me. And yes, just be waiting for Malcolm to appear. And I'm never used to this. Yeah. I'm just putting in all the links. Let's make sure it's all there, and hopefully all will be well, and all manner of things will be well, to paraphrase Julian of Norwich. Better shut the door. If it gets a bit too dark, I will put a light on. It's going to be daylight till about 10ish, but I mean, it is a bit muggy this evening, a little bit cloudy. Sophie shall see. And, let's have a look. And just be waiting for Malcolm. If you want to, so a few housekeeping rules. If you want to take part in this discussion, and you can do, you can go on to a YouTube page, Paul Bergin, if you're not there already, and it will be under film review starter for 10, and there'll be a chat thing on your right hand side where you can leave comments, and we will try and incorporate them. If you're looking at this at my blog, you likewise, you can be leaving comments on the blog, and I will be checking both from time to time during the course of the discussion, and seeing if I can incorporate where possible. And yes, hopefully all will be well. And yeah, and just checking to no sign of Malcolm yet. I've been used to take because I was never sure of my way around Zoom and YouTube. It used to take a while for me to set up, so I would start quite early, about 15 minutes early. And I'll start about 7 or 8 minutes early. As a result, because I'm getting a bit more confident around things, it's having to realize there's air to fill. So if you can cope with my meanderings for a short while, fine. But we shall see. And and let me edit something. Hopefully. Oh. So I realised there was what happened was I was editing it on one social media page, and because there was no image, it will go on the image of one of the most popular blog posts, and I write mainly about politics on my blog, and so an image of Vladimir Putin came up. No, that's not what I want either. Oh, that's much better. Yeah. And here, just let Malcolm in, and we will say good evening to Malcolm. And he's just connecting the audio, so he can't hear us yet. So plenty of time to say what you think. He's a lovely lad. And yeah, we'll get cracking. And we've decided what the next film will be after this one. And here he is. Any moment now. Good evening, Malcolm.
Good evening. Hello.
Hello. Yes, how's things?
Very good. Thank
Good.
you. Yep. Happy to be here. How are you?
Fine. I went for a walk and tried to get up to my 10,000 steps. I got slightly caught in the rain. Was worried that, my athlete, this is a bit TMI, but my athlete's foot combination, and I noticed one of my shoes slightly leaking would give me cellulitis. So I didn't waste having, as soon as I got back, socks went straight off and washing my feet vigorously before I put a fresh pair of socks on.
Good.
But yeah, I've had cellulitis about 2 or 3 times.
Right.
So it's easily treatable, but it is fatal.
All right. Oh, well, there we are.
The only thing I've had which is fatal. But if it's found early, it's easily treatable and cured. If it's left to its own devices, you will end up in hospital. And if you caught it way too late, chances are you'll get septicemia.
Oh, hey, crumbs.
Hence why. Yeah, it's not so, and having had it twice.
Yeah.
Both times, officially 4 times, but I think I caught, the first 3 times where it hadn't fully cleared out my system. But it's a horrible, horrible thing to have. So, yeah.
Glad you were able to sort it today.
Yes. So there we go. And yeah. So starter for 10. Hands on buzzers. So what did you think of the film overall?
Overall positive impression of it.
Yes.
It was enjoyable.
Yes.
I mean, it's not the deepest film ever, not the most epic, not the most heroic.
Depends how passionate you are about University Challenge, I think. But
I haven't watched it since I was about 18, I think. So I'm not really heavily into it, I have to admit.
Did
Good
it cause
memories of the program, but it's not one that I actually watch.
Yes.
It's just a good little picture.
Yes.
Really. I watched it over 2 sessions.
Yeah.
And I was happy just to do it in the 2 because I thought after the first one, I thought, okay, well, it's going fine, but I have to admit, I didn't feel greatly motivated to keep going.
No.
I will because of this, but otherwise I probably wouldn't have gone back to it. But it was easy. The second session was, it was easy to watch. So I'll give it credit. Credit where it's due. It's a very likable film.
Yeah. Just a brief housekeeping thing again for those watching. If you also want to leave comments on Twitter, knock yourself out. We will pick them up and use them if they're there.
We must get into the habit of actually advertising this more than 2 minutes beforehand, so people know.
Oh yeah, I know. I got caught out today. I'm covering for someone at work as well as doing my own. So I just got, it's one thing after another. But yes, we should be advertising it more, and we will be with the next one, because as I mentioned to the viewers just before, but not mentioned, we've already decided on the next one earlier on. But for those who don't know, Starter for 10 is about a university undergraduate called Brian in his first year, and he is mad about University Challenge, and there's an opportunity for him to join the team at Bristol University, where he is studying, to have a place on University Challenge, and it all goes from there. And in the there is a subplot of, or 2 or 3 subplots about relationships, all concerning relationships. One, there's a fellow undergrad, 2 fellow undergraduates called Alice and Rebecca, both of whom he's attracted to, and it's not clear as to who he will end up with, although common sense dictates very early on who he should be ending up with, perhaps. But although Malcolm might disagree with me. And then there's also his friends back home who are not as academic as he is and are not at university. And there's the slight disconnect. And also his relationship with his mother and his mother's boyfriend. So, yeah, let's get right into this.
Right.
What we did it bring back any memories of university? I'm not saying did someone come up to you and start talking about their holiday in Thailand, but
absolutely none.
No.
I'm afraid. I was never a knowledge. I was going to say knowledge freak, but that's a really pejorative way of putting it. I was never as interested in knowledge in the way that Brian is in the film. So I didn't go looking for the University Challenge team. I don't think I would dare to be honest. I was just happy to be there and hoping I passed my exams at the end of the year to be able to come back again. I never had girl trouble.
No, I didn't. But yeah,
very relieved by that. And neither did I ever get into any fights.
No.
Friends, by the time I actually went to university, I had kind of lost contact with the friends I grew up with. Our paths had just diverted by that point. So I made new friends, but I'd moved on, or friends of old and I had gone our separate ways by then. So I didn't have a Spencer.
No.
Or is it Tone, the other guy, to banter with or to cause trouble for me. Which was a very great relief. So I had a wonderful time at university, and I never cheated to get anything.
No.
So
be careful. We got to kind of avoid spoilers here, but
the film. Okay, the film actually is older than I expected it to be, but fair enough.
When the film was made, or when it's set?
Oh no, when it was made, 2005, I think.
2006. It would have been filmed in 2005, I imagine, and released in 2006.
I suppose that would explain why someone like James McAvoy is in it. I don't think he would make this kind of film now, but perhaps that was early on in his career. But
not that much younger than us, so it would have a hard time convincing people he's a young undergraduate. Of a late teens.
He could be a mature student, I suppose.
Well, that's said, but yeah.
But no, it was fun to see him in his university. It was quite generic though. The wacky housemates, flatmates, chasing after girls,
Yeah.
drinking. Well, drinking's not a big part of it, but the parties.
Yes.
The serious student, Benedict Cumberbatches, and the singers that you see halfway through.
I knew someone at university who was like, I've forgotten his name, Benedict Cumberbatch's character.
Right.
We tried to get on. But yeah.
So I was at the beginning when he went to university for the first time. I was trying to work out where he was. I actually thought originally he was at Bath, because where his flat is, it looked like the Crescent.
It would have been filmed. It's funny. I suppose it's no secret on social media that Rachel and I lived in Letchworth for 10 years, and they filmed The World's End, the last of the Cornetto trilogy, a lot of it there. And it's meant to be a fictional town that was filmed in both Welwyn Garden City and Letchworth Garden City, most of it in Letchworth. It does your head in slightly, because you can see some parts that go into a building and then it's something completely different to what you know the inside to be.
It sounds like the same as the last Mission Impossible film, when Tom Cruise runs over the roof of St. Paul's Cathedral and then jumps over a very narrow gap to another building on his way down to Blackfriars Station.
Yeah.
And knowing that area, living in London as I do, I know that what is represented as a very narrow gap in the film is actually a road, and he has to jump over another road to get to the building that takes him onto the roof of Blackfriars. But it's all part of the fun. It never gets in the way of the picture for me.
No.
It's a fun thing to be able to notice because you live in the area. I haven't had a lasting problem with that. It comes and goes. But it was so maybe they filmed it in Bath, but University of Bristol is where he's supposed to be, which I'm sure is lovely, although I've never been there.
No, I mean, I've been once or the odd occasion. I had a couple of friends who didn't know. I had one friend from school and one friend from the Subway Writers Group,
right?
Which is how I met Liz Evershed, who both lived in Bristol at the same time, and I went to see one and then the other, because one of them had a house party and the other because she happened to live in Bristol. I think she still does. She's since met someone and got married. And I took the opportunity to see, but me in university. I suppose I ought to mention it as last year as well. I wanted to. I remember in my first year at uni, I thought, I hope there's a university challenge team set, because if there is, I'll apply. Nothing happened. It never occurred to me to set one up myself.
Right.
But I went to. If they had, I would have done. But I got a slight glow watching university challenge, which had started again, albeit Jeremy Paxman is in. You're watching the machinations of a club that you could theoretically join, which I never got from watching the program before. It was didn't cheat at anything. Girl trouble. No, I didn't have any girlfriend. I was one of those who didn't have any girlfriends at uni. I did. There was a housemate and we ended up. It was one of those awkward things where we ended up sharing a snog one evening, and then it kind of coloured our relationship with each other for the rest of the year.
Oh, that's a shame.
Because it was like, I feel bad about that. We didn't have a row or anything, but it was like the weird. It was essentially two friends who were attracted to each other,
right.
And but weren't prepared, but accepted it. I think it was. I don't know, but it caused the kind of thing that would cause slight weirdness. Yeah. So that was my romantic drama, but I have to. When you see Rebecca and Alice, I have to say, maybe it's just the way I am, but I thought from the word go and the first time I saw this as well, it's like, you're better off with Rebecca, mate. Yeah. I mean, yes, she is a Marxist, but she's, you know, I don't like, aside from her protests against apartheid, which I'm totally for,
apartheid? That's a bit of a shock.
Yeah. The aside from her protests against apartheid, I'm not sure about her politics, but being all Marxist, but you know, she's got you can tell from the beginning she's, you know, this very charismatic person who's got a good heart. And of course, he doesn't notice her, but that's the way of a lot of romantic stories or love stories, isn't it? What you see.
Yeah, it was pretty predictable in that sense. It's, there were elements of the film that even I managed to predict, oh, this is going to happen, isn't it? And it did.
Yeah.
To be fair to it, there were also some elements that I got completely wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, with Rebecca, Marxist Rebecca, that's a well-trodden path. My favorite film, or joint favorite film, Some Kind of Wonderful, treads that kind of path, with the hero looking for the popular girl, whereas his best friend, the tomboy, is the one that he'll eventually end up with, who's secretly in love. Well, it's a bit different to Start for 10, because she's secretly in love with him, and Rebecca isn't. Or I don't think she's really.
I think Rebecca's attracted to.
She doesn't pine for him in the way Some Kind of Wonderful goes. So, but yeah, it's a well-trodden path. I mean, that said, I wouldn't mark the film down necessarily because of it, because it's more about what. There's very little that's original in stories. It's about what you do with the storyline that you're giving yourself, how you execute it.
Yeah.
It was. They didn't light any fireworks really in terms of the narrative. It was pretty solid the way they approached it.
Yeah.
I won't be too hard on Alice. I mean, it would be easy to be.
It's easy to be hard on Alice.
Because Rebecca is the one with the principles, and she's more real, and blah blah blah. But Alice isn't really that bad.
I think Alice Eve, the actress who plays her, does a very good job, because it would be very easy to show Alice as narcissistic.
Well, yeah, I mean,
and yet she makes her a very sympathetic character.
Yeah, she could easily have been represented as the blonde bombshell, very sexy, but ultimately shallow, and she isn't.
No,
which I'd applaud the writers for not going down that road.
No,
making her likable. And Alice Eve.
Alice Eve, who's actually in real life the daughter of Trevor Eve. So you're not far.
That's what I was thinking of him. So
incidentally, just to stop you, I just suddenly realised Bristol's where Shoestring set. Detective series, which Trevor Eve played the privateer.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry.
So it would have been very easy for them to say, right, Rebecca is the good girl, and Alice is the bad one, and that's the femme fatale, so far as this kind of film will have one. And that's what we're going to go with. But they were more subtle than that. They made both the girls likable, and both of them were possibilities for for Brian at the end.
Yes.
So that when he went up to Alice,
Careful, spoilers.
Well, look, anyone watching this, it's unavoidable. There's got to be spoilers along the way. So if you're watching,
if you don't want to know, turn off now. We are going to mention
basically go and watch it and then come back.
Right. Have you gone?
I am going to say something.
Yes. I will let you say something, Malcolm, because you've got a good you've got a good rationale for it. Bring on the spoiler, Malcolm. Bring it on.
So yeah, when he meets her at the end, you think, okay, he could be going off with her quite legitimately. But spoiler, I'm glad he didn't.
I kind of knew. The funny thing is, though, when I first saw it, I knew he was going after Rebecca. Maybe there's a subconscious thing, because I mean, when I first saw it, I thought, well, I would have gone for Rebecca.
So would I.
So there's that kind of, maybe there's a thing of which I'm aware of in films, of viewer projection. I hasten to add, I saw this about nearly 20 years ago.
Right.
Before I met. Well, no, Rachel does have that kind. I think maybe I have a thing for brunettes deep down, but
right. This is the first time I saw it, so never seen it before. I mean, I can't be dealing with all the socialist nonsense, but apart from that, she's grand.
And I really felt for her in that. We again, a spoiler, but we've got to mention that crucial bit about the halfway or 2/3 through the film, where she turns up in his digs on New Year's Eve, and it's clear watching it the first time. It's clear that she's making a play for him, wherever it is, and of course he responds, and then they kind of break off because the New Year's coming in, and it's painful. Happy New Year, Brian. Happy New Year, Alice.
I mean, I was thinking about that and I thought, okay, well, that's kind of bad form, but
it's predictable. It's funny. Sorry?
Didn't she overreact just a little?
Well, for someone, I will give Rebecca Hall, the actress who played her, I will give her full mark. I'll let her get away with that, as I think any viewer, any critic would, because throughout the beforehand and afterwards, she clearly adores Brian, but she is very pragmatic and accepting. This is her being, no, sorry, you're being bang out of order here. I'm being used. And bear in mind also, it's New Year's Eve, and at the stroke of midnight, it's not something they're going to forget in a hurry.
Well, yeah. I feel though that he'd been with Alice just like 24 hours earlier, and she knows that he kind of liked her. So a slip of the tongue, okay, that was a bit foolish of you, old chap, but she really flies off the handle. This is nothing to do with the actress. It's more to do with the script.
But I think
needed him to have the reversal of fortune so that he can climb back up from it later.
I've read some of the novel, and if I remember correctly with the novel, and how to put this delicately, the film deals with that far better than the novel does.
Right.
The novel, they don't break off for New Year, and at a moment close to its very obvious conclusion, she says Happy New Year, Brian, as they hear in the background, and he says Happy New Year, Alice, and that is even more like that is if I'm reading what you're saying correctly. Yes, I'm not going
that would be quite cringy.
Yeah,
but as it is in the film, I don't know, perhaps that hasn't happened to me. I should ask someone to whom it's happened and see what their opinion is, I think.
Yeah.
But my reaction upon seeing it in the film was the film hasn't sold that particular moment to me well enough for it to earn her big strop and then marching out.
Yeah.
I needed more from them for it to be really convincing.
Yeah, there's some interesting semi cameos from a lot of the more established actors at the time. There's Catherine Tate, there's Charles Dance and Lindsay Duncan.
Charles Dance,
Guy Henry, but let's go for Charles Dance and Lindsay Duncan.
We need to have a national conversation about him. You get Charles Dance in your film, you give him less than 5 minutes of screen time, and just about 2 lines, if that, of dialogue. That was Dance. How much did they pay him for that?
And he was memorable in it. I mean, I almost fit. And the thing is, he and Lindsay Duncan, that they were like, you felt that they were the grown-ups you had met and dreaded, even though you hadn't met them. They were that realistic. And I don't know about you, but I felt that chill when he went, Brian, put your clothes back on, when he goes into the kitchen.
I didn't feel much with him at all. I watched it and then I thought, oh, that's it. He's gone already.
Yeah.
Never to return. What a wasted.
But didn't you find his performance memorable?
No.
You didn't? Really. Oh.
It's only memorable because it's Charles Dance.
Yes.
He hardly says anything in it. He's in and out like a shot.
Yeah.
I mean, never mind phoning it in, emails it in. He's given hardly anything to do.
I'm sure he got a nice holiday from it in the
Yeah, no, I wasn't particularly impressed. An actor like him.
Yeah.
He was still a big actor in 2005. He's been around for
He's been a big actor ever since the Jewel in the Crown. He's been a big actor, and he's been where he was sort of recognized for a decade before. I mean, he has you'll spot him on film and television for years before he was famous. I mean, if you watch the Bond film For Your Eyes Only,
which I see,
yes, which he plays one of Christatos's henchmen.
And the voice that he's got, he should really have been given a bigger role. They should recast Catherine Tate's boyfriend's role. He gets more lines. Okay, Charles Dance probably wouldn't make a good ice cream.
He has come
him a different job.
Charles Dance has said on an interview that he comes from a working class background.
Well,
that generation is taught to talk in a certain way, and he has said he would like some working class roles. You know,
well, put him in the ice cream band then, but give him a bigger role than a 5-minute job that they did have him for.
Yeah.
I don't know. Perhaps he was friends with the director or something like that. But yeah, it was. I suppose he's kind of memorable because he appears naked.
Yes.
Although the camera obviously doesn't show anything much with him and his wife.
Yeah.
But really, my overriding reaction afterwards was, that was a shame. Someone that famous and such a good actor. It would have been great to hear more of him and see more of him.
What did you make of Guy Henry as the tutor?
I don't really know much about him. His face was vaguely familiar.
Yeah.
And that was it. So he had a few nice lines.
Yes.
So his character was really likable because he, I suppose, kind of takes Brian under his wing, helps him out when he potentially doesn't really need to, and so that was really nice of him. But I didn't really think anything about the actor because I don't really know him.
Yeah.
Or what else he's been in.
I've kind of noticed him for the last 40 years because for the simple reason, when I was about 7, he was in a Granada television series called Young Sherlock.
Oh, right.
He played Sherlock Holmes on the cusp of university.
Right.
And it's more or less forgotten, but for some reason I remembered the name and the face of the actor, even though I was only 7. And so whenever he's appeared, it's like, yeah, that's him.
Yeah, oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, Dominic West and James Corden.
So Dominic West, was he Spencer?
Yes.
He's turned up in one of the Marvel films.
Yes.
Which was nice to see afterwards. I had a look at IMDb. I didn't actually recognize James Corden until I looked him up, or was looking at the IMDb page for the film. Nowadays, whenever I read about James Corden, he's being criticized or whatever for his show in America. I only knew him as a kind of chat show or comedian, I think, before he went off to the USA.
It's Dominic Cooper, not Dominic West. I knew it's that. Okay. Dominic West is another well-known. I got my Dominics mixed up.
Right.
So.
Oh, he's The Wire, isn't he? Dominic West.
Dominic West, yes. Dominic Cooper was in Mamma Mia.
Okay, I've seen bits of it, but not enough.
Yeah, he played the boyfriend, as in the younger generation boyfriend, obviously not.
Yeah, I liked his character. He was really interesting. I mean, kind of typical. Okay, we're going to have a character who Brian is good friends with, leaves behind, comes into his life a bit later. Kind of predictable, the things he said, the way he behaved. But he played the part really well. He was never stale. Yeah. His character wasn't stale or boring. So that was well done to Dominic Cooper for that. Not a very exciting role, but he made the most of it and came off really well.
And of course, that other cameo, or the cameo of cameos, Mark Gatiss as Bamber Gascoigne.
Yeah. And again, I know him by name. He gets mentioned on social media or whatever.
Yeah.
And I've heard of him in other productions. He's not someone I know really well.
Yeah.
The most I can say about this is that he kind of did look rather like Bamber Gascoigne.
Yeah.
So
and the voice
that's probably why he's there. But yeah.
Incidentally, the actor who played the producer of the University Challenge was Ben Willibond, who later went into Horrible Histories and is one of the main cast members of Ghosts, the sitcom that's been made in the last few. But Ghosts is filmed at the house, Bamber Gascoigne's home.
Oh,
his country home. Yeah. So there's an interesting twist.
That's a point of connection there.
Yes. But so, starter for 10. How would you rate this out of 10?
Oh, well, I think 7.5.
7.5.
It was, like I said at the start, it was like a likable film. It was fairly no frills. Some parts were, to go back to the beginning, some parts were quite predictable, but other parts certainly weren't. And it had enough of a heart to make it interesting and enjoyable to watch the whole way through.
Yeah.
Not every film needs to be spectacular, needs to have big effects or very epic scenes or really stunning moments or performances. You can have a really good picture that is just plays it straight down the middle with a very straight bat down the middle, and gets the job done. I bet the film didn't win one award, didn't need to in order to be a good film. So I would say very solid for me, 7.5. Yeah.
Okay. Incidentally, Tom Hanks was one of the producers.
Oh yeah, I think I noticed that. Oh, and one thing I did was thinking afterwards was, okay, massive spoiler. So no kidding, anyone who doesn't want to know the ending.
Yeah.
So I am going to spoil it. So stop now.
Yeah.
Right. So the film is set up as, I started watching it thinking right, so what's going to happen is he joins the team, they have their ups and downs, but they come together at the end and they win the competition. And that's the denouement. Of course, what actually happens is inexplicably he cheats and gets busted.
I can't bear to watch the whole scene in that. The moment Bamber Gascoigne does it, I fast forward because I just find it too painful.
I don't blame you. It was certainly a moment I was thinking, oh, right, okay. Now I don't know where this film is going. Fair enough. But it did remind me of a comic strip I read when I was young, and The Eagle came out in the 80s.
Yes.
And one of the strips, they had various comic strips. Some were drawn, others were photographed panels. And one of the photographed stories was about a football team, school football team. And the story was about how they come together and they go through, it's either the tournament or the season, and they get to the final. So I guess it's a tournament. And you think they're going to win it, but they don't, they lose. I can't remember how the story ends, but I really thought of that when I watched the film. I thought, it's really not about University Challenge at all. Ultimately, it's about his relationships and how he grows into those. The film, the quiz gets him to where he needs to be at the end. And I thought that was kind of a neat touch. I mean, it potentially makes the film feel a bit awkward and not rounded at the end, because it hasn't taken you to where you think it's going to go. It's gone somewhere else altogether. But I really like that about it, and that must have been quite brave. Well, perhaps a brave thing to do. Say, okay, University Challenge is at the heart of this, but we're not stopping there. We're going on a bit further to the really important place. And I thought that was quite a good creative, quite bold and good creative choice there. So I'd stick with my 7.5 rating, but that makes it a really good one. They risk audience disappointment there. And a part of me does kind of wish, because you like things to be perfectly rounded, wish they had finished with the quiz or him doing well or getting redemption. But another part of me thinks, no, well done them for taking this other path. Fair play to them.
So I would give it, 7.5.
Yeah.
It's not like in my top 10 favourite films of all time, but it's something I would happily watch on a Sunday afternoon. And I do like the love story in it as well. I'm slightly annoyed with Brian for not cottoning on at the very beginning.
There'd be no story if he did, though.
It would, and it would have been spared a lot of problems. I mean, I liked Rebecca from the moment, you see her when the poor, that student who I think has a number of health problems, talks about Thai culture, and it's the way she looks there and she pulls a slight face with a laugh, and there's something charming about that, and it's like,
he's a really good character.
And I did also the two flatmates. I mean, I think I met people like that at uni, but like Brian, I never got to know them. They were always hovering in the background, people like that.
They're very university studentish.
Yes.
Definitely. People like them are, in no small part, what makes university such a fun time. Characters like that. It would be very dull if everyone was very studious or very similar in whatever way.
There's psychology about vicars and tarts parties as to what you go as, because I would be a vicar every time.
That was funny. That was very Bridget Jones.
It was.
Actually, it was just she goes to Tarts and Vickers party.
Vickers party, and the horrible thing that there's a horrible twist to that.
There is.
Yeah.
That was a couple of years or 2-3 years before this film, or even around the same time. So
it's around the same time, I think. Hang on, because I get a bee in my bonnet when I find this. It's like I've got to know. Bridget Jones's Diary.
That is one of my favorite pictures.
Yeah. Oh no, it's God. We are getting older. It's 2001. So yeah, Start of Pretend was 5 years later.
Much. Yeah.
God, there's a time when I used to know instinctively these things. Oh dear, I'm clearly past the halfway mark. Anyway, I will leave you to it, and all the best. And also, before we go, for viewers and everything, we have made the decision already, haven't we, on the next film?
We have, yes. Yeah.
Yes. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is in the cinemas, and I, for one, felt that it would be, and Malcolm seems to agree because he readily said yes, that it would be remiss for this. Yeah, it would be remiss for this. Have you seen it already?
I have, yeah.
I have not. I want to see it in the next week, but I felt it would be remiss for us to go past this summer with a film like that in the cinema and completely ignore it. That will not happen. I mean, we did make a point of doing a review of No Time to Die when that came out, so we'll be doing in the next one, which will probably be a bit sooner than usual, but we haven't set a date yet.
That would be good because I won't go to see it again. So while it's still fresh in the memory,
as early as possible. We will be looking at Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and we will be heavily advertising it as well. Yes.
Yeah, we're wonderfully informal here. This podcast video doesn't have we don't advertise it. So
no, I mean I try to whenever I can for obvious reasons, but yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter. But it's going to be very interesting talking about it, because by the time we do, I'm going to see the next Mission Impossible film on Monday. First day it comes out. I love those films. So it'll be interesting comparing it to that, if that's a valid thing to do.
Okay.
So yeah, it'll be. I look forward to that. Indiana Jones. I watched The Last Crusade a few days ago. I watch the other ones again to remind myself.
Yeah, I saw The Last Crusade last night. I might watch The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull because it's on Film 4. But as it stands, not having seen Dial of Destiny, with regards to the first 4 films, The Last Crusade is my favourite.
Yeah,
so it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. So yeah,
definitely. I look forward to it.
Yes. Well, all the best and have a good rest of the week.